Welcome to another insightful episode of Parent Entrepreneur Power. In this podcast, Mary Catherine Johnson and Evan Johnson highlight the successes and struggles of parents in business. They share how to be the example of success in entrepreneurship to foster the same in your child, and so much more. Are you ready to power up? Hey, Parent Entrepreneur Power is here. Mary Catherine Johnson here with the amazing Evan Johnson. We are coming to you with some incredible updates and second generation of the original Parent Entrepreneur Power. So, hey there, Evan. You ready?
I am very excited.
This is going to be so fun. We have already had some conversations. I can't wait to share the first few with everyone who starts this podcast with us. But basically, this is the second generation, right? I mean, you and I were both involved in the first generation of Parent Entrepreneur Power, but very different ways, right?
Yes, I was definitely not your co-host before when I was in my early teens and also younger. Because I don't remember when did you first start the first one?
I started the first Parent Entrepreneur Power I started recording episodes at the end of 2013. So like September, October of 2013. And I think I launched it January of 2014. So that was what, 7 years ago? Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Early teens.
Yeah.
How old I was.
Yeah. And then I think you took over the editing. I think right after either sometime within year one or right after year one. Because I was 300 and something episodes once a week. So, that was a couple of years. We didn't stop. The last episode was published, mid 2018. So, yeah, 4 years worth. So you took over pretty quickly.
Oh yeah. No, it's a different dynamic now, I think, for sure. One that I'm excited for.
I know. It's so fun. I mean, to actually be in business. First off, okay, here's what we're doing. Thanks for listening to Evan and my little banter back and forth and reminiscing about the original podcast. But this podcast is exactly what I said. It's the second generation. And if you go back, we don't have those episodes. We're going to not release those original episodes or release them a little bit differently. But if you went back and you listened, or you were an original listener of that podcast, you would have heard me interview parents in business, and quite a few parents that you probably know. And when I interviewed them, they weren't who they are now. People like Ryan Levesque or Pat Flynn or Steve Chu or Andrew Warner, Dana Malstaff of Boss Moms. I mean, the list goes on, 300 and something people. And I interviewed them usually right before they hit their big mark, and they were releasing a book or starting a course. But the whole purpose was helping parents grow a business and a family at the same time. And now I stopped that in 2018 for a couple of reasons. Number one, I focused on a agency, on building a chatbot agency, and my kids were kind of grown, and I didn't have to worry about that anymore. I didn't have to worry about balancing times and figuring out how to, get business done at midnight while they were asleep, right? They were growing up. And so I kind of didn't have to do that anymore. So now all of a sudden, one day I was thinking about, as you do as a parent, thinking about our lives and how my son's lives have started, and just being so grateful that I had the opportunity to involve them in my business when they were young, because now both of them are entrepreneurs. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun if Evan and I could actually do the podcast together, showing now how parents can structure their businesses to foster and model entrepreneurship with their kids. And that is how this second generation was born. So, Evan, how did you feel about that when I came to you and asked you, do you want to do this with me? Do you want to figure out how this works and maybe talk about these things with me?
I was very excited about it because I know that we had talked, we had kind of, talked a little bit about working together on a business, on some coaching that we eventually got clearer on. And then, because I work with podcasts, that was one of our first ideas as far as how to dive into what we were talking about potentially doing together was with a podcast. And because what we decided on doing was helping parents and kids and entrepreneurship, figured we would do a podcast that focused on the same thing. And interestingly enough, you had a podcast that was that was pretty much that topic, but focusing on raising young kids instead of helping older kids with getting into business themselves. So this is a very interesting podcast. I think the conversations have been interesting so far, and it's very interesting for me to be a part of this in this new capacity instead of just like a kid, right? Now that I'm like an adult as well.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. It's fun.
Yeah. So let's kind of take people through. So I used to call the people listening to my podcast power parents, and I still believe that. You guys are absolutely, you have the power. If you have had a child and if you've taken that child through potty training, through trying to learn how to walk, through middle school, through any of the milestones that we do as parents, business is nothing, really. Business is not difficult if you've helped a kid navigate life at all. So you are a power parent listening to this. And so what we're going to do is we are going to have conversations with parents talking about how they can structure their businesses to model and foster entrepreneurship in their kids as an option. Doesn't mean we are expecting every child to become an entrepreneur. That's not at all what we're doing. We're looking at the options. And because I was able to present my business in a way to my kids that allowed them to basically gain some skills and some knowledge and make mistakes in a safe environment, a little safer environment than they would if they were out in that cold, cruel world all by themselves, then it allowed them to kind of stretch their wings, to test their wings, to see what they could do. And just in the sense of what Evan and Riley have done, Evan is so blessed to have him on this show with me. Riley's going to join us too occasionally here and there. But basically what happened is this podcast, I went to Evan and said, I'm getting really busy and I don't want to do the editing all by myself anymore. I would rather have someone else do it. And instead of hiring someone, do you want to learn how to do this and make some extra money? And of course he went, okay, in true Evan fashion of really being amazingly down to earth and calm and very wise about things. He just said, okay. And he learned, and it was easy because, it's not easy to edit. I'm not saying that, but it was easy to implement this for him in my business because of a couple of things. Number one, he didn't have to be at a certain place at a certain time. So he could still do school, which was his main focus at that time. Because you were what? Were you 15 or 16, Evan?
Something like that. I was definitely in high school when I started. So, I had all of that. And one podcast where I'm working with you, that was one episode a week, anywhere between half an hour and an hour long. Yep. So it would take me anywhere between half an hour and an hour and a half to do it. Just that once a week.
Yeah.
Very easy for a high school kid, that's for sure.
Yes. And it allowed you to be able to see what it was like to work in an entrepreneurial environment without having to, I don't know, what would you have to do in entrepreneurship? You wouldn't have to talk to clients or, deal with service delivery and all the other things that I was doing at the time. It was very much, you could do it whenever you wanted, as long as it was done by a certain time and day. And it didn't matter when you got it done or how you got it done, as long as it got done. So that allowed you to really test out the best ways of working for yourself, because you didn't stick with exactly what I taught you. I taught you how to do the editing the way I did it first, but then you took it over and just ran with it and made it your own, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got to figure a lot of stuff out as far as how I wanted to structure my life, how I wanted to work. And it was just very, very conducive to a fairly introverted high school kid.
Yeah.
Which I feel like a lot of high schoolers kind of are. It was perfect. I just
Yeah.
had to, do the work before it needed to be done, before the episode needed to go out, and that was very, very easy for me to do. It didn't take a lot
Yeah.
of adjustment in my life.
And then what did you do with that knowledge? So then comes time when all your friends are going out and getting jobs at, at the pizza places or grocery stores, checker
Mhm.
baggers and things like that. When it came time that you were like, I think I want to make some more money because I wasn't paying you a huge amount. Um, you know, what did you do?
Well, you had the incredible idea to do what I was doing for you for other people, and charge them for it as well. So I started doing that. It was pretty slow at first, right? Because pretty much happened, I think, because you had people coming to you asking you what you did, and then you asked me like, "Can I refer them to you?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then you did. So it was pretty slow at first. I tried the whole real job thing. I worked at a Starbucks for about a month before I quit. Nothing against Starbucks, but it was horrible. I hated it. Um, Mostly because I had to put on something other than pajamas and be at a place at a certain time, which was very much not how I operate. So that was not working very well. And so instead, I decided to dive into the podcast editing, and that's how that continued to evolve from there.
Yeah, and then you had to take on a whole different set of skills, right? This wasn't just sitting behind the computer
Yes.
editing audio or putting in information into WordPress for a blog post or going to
Well, it's pretty
Libsyn or
much an
whatever.
employee before then, because
Yeah.
you just told me, here's how to do this, do it for me by this time. And I was like, okay. And then I did. But then once you started referring other people to me, then it was an actual business where I had
Mm.
actual clients. Like you were an actual client, but I mean, you're my mom, right?
Yeah.
So it was not the same. But
Yeah.
then I had actual clients that I only knew in a business capacity. And so that was a whole other thing that I had to
Yeah.
deal with, and especially when I actually wanted to try to grow the business. Well, it's not like you were referring me 50 clients a day, so I had to
Yeah.
refer myself
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
clients.
Yeah. And all that, the skills that I mean, I remember the conversations we had, right? We were talking about, okay, what do you say to people when they get on a call with you? What do you do when they say yes? And or how do you present the price to them? And then if they say, okay, that's good, I'll do that. Then what do you do then? You have to do a contract or an agreement of some kind and get them to sign it. Then what are you going to use for invoicing? I mean, this was really the starting of your own business, and it allowed you to live on your own and be an adult and support yourself and have that confidence in the ability that you can do whatever you need to do to support yourself and provide value to other people. I mean, it started as kind of an employee, so to speak, but you were a contractor, and then it turned into an actual entrepreneurial venture.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It evolved a lot over time, that's for sure.
How
And most
long?
of it was me trying to keep up with it.
How long did it take to go from working for mom on one podcast to actually having enough clients that you could move into a high rise apartment and live the
Uh,
live the good life?
I'd say I started doing it when I was 15 or 16, so around 2014, 2015. No, yeah, 2014 probably, or 15 is when I started.
Mhm.
Um, and then I moved out in 2018. So that long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And you were only, what, 19? I think
Yeah.
you had, didn't you just turn 19 when you moved out?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you had just turned 19 when you moved out.
No, I had just
So,
turned 20.
had you just turned 20?
I just turned 20
Yeah.
when I moved out. Yeah. And
So,
it could have happened faster if,
right,
I had worked even more on it. I
right.
mean, it was definitely my main gig, but I was also doing college and being 18, so it wasn't as fast as I'm
Yeah,
sure it could have been. But, that was
yeah,
fine with me. I didn't have anywhere to be.
yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
and you were allowed to be a kid, right? You were allowed, it allowed you to have responsibility, but yet really explore who you were and what you wanted, like you said, what you wanted your life to look like.
Oh, yeah.
Because some kids like your brother, like Riley, I mean, his life, the way he wants his life to look is totally different, right? He's totally different. And he has the same experience, however, where he had a skill. He already came with a particular skill that he had taught himself, animation. And all I did was provide an opportunity for me to be his first client, just like you. I provided an opportunity for me to be your first client. And so he did, different video stuff and animations and images, and then went out and hung out his shingle and got clients as well. But his life, the way, and I think this is the important thing that you were talking about when we first started this episode. We're coaching, we're talking to other parents, helping them help their kids have entrepreneurship as an option. And it's all about the type of life they want to create for themselves. If they want a 9 to 5 job where they go and they go to an office and they do the thing and then they come home and they don't want to think about it anymore, they don't want to be invested in it anymore, then that's cool. That's an option that they can have. But if they want to direct it a little bit more, direct their life a little bit more, and have a business that they either work 4 hours a day on or 10 hours a day on, and they live where they want and do what they want, we want to allow or help parents create that option and that opportunity for their kids. And some of the conversations we've had have been pretty cool. They've been kind of fun. Like poor little Steve Chu, we kind of cornered him a couple of times. And talked about some interesting things, and the same with Cliff Ravenscraft. We had an interesting conversation with him too. We've had some pretty fun conversations, and it's just really all about helping parents. So you power parents listening, we are here to help you structure your business so that you provide an opportunity for your kids. And I know at that teenage stage, let's talk about that for a minute, Evan, that teenage stage where kids usually are like, no, mom, I don't want to do what you want me to do, that kind of thing. How did we navigate that? How did it work that we didn't end up in fights all the time?
Because you didn't force me to do anything.
That's
That's
right.
honestly pretty much it. You didn't force me to do anything,
Yeah.
right? And I'm sure, honestly, I'm not a teenager anymore, but I still understand those feelings. I'm sure adults can as well. If someone tells you to do something, oftentimes it makes you not want to do that thing,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Right.
for example, right? A teenager. Let's say you wake up and you're thinking to yourself, yeah, I'm gonna give my room a nice clean today. It's looking kind of messy. Give it a clean. And then you walk out and you maybe get some food or something first. And then mom comes out and is like, hey, clean your room. Well, now that teenager, the last thing on the plan that could possibly be done, the last thing that person would want to do would be clean the room. The last thing. He would rather die before clean the room. Even though just a few minutes before that was like his next task he was going to do.
Yeah.
Because teens are, I mean, they're not legally adults, but like they're not kids either. That's not how, I mean, you know, go back, 100 years or whatever, and your 15-year-old would already be hard at work in the
Yep.
factories or whatever. I'm not an expert on
Yeah.
history, but you know what
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
So the human body has not changed since then.
No.
Only socially things have changed. So yeah, they're not legally adults. Yeah, their brain's not be technically as developed as yours as a parent, but they are still capable of logical thought, and they are capable of taking care of themselves. If you dump them in the woods, they might not die.
Yeah.
So
Right.
you know, when it comes to things like what they want to do with their life and all that kind of stuff, if you try to force them to do something, they are not like not. I'd say 90% likelihood of they're not going to do that thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you just have to let them decide what they're going to do, and that's what worked for us.
Yeah.
You offered me the role of editing your podcasts, right? Um, it seemed like something I would be cool with, so I did it, and it was not, there was no forcing involved. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Or judgment, right? I mean, I didn't come to you and go, that was stupid, right? Or, nothing like if there was a mistake that was made, I just came and presented it as, gosh, could we do this differently next time
Mhm.
and add this thing or do this thing or something
And you
like that?
didn't, and you didn't manipulate me into doing it either.
No.
Because I feel like that, especially, you love your kids, right? And so it'd be hard if you think, like for me, right? I'm sure you thought that me doing that for you would be way better than going in and getting a job at Starbucks or McDonald's or whatever, right?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
you didn't try to manipulate me into doing your podcast. And it's not like if I had said no, he would have guilted me into it or
Nope.
something,
Nope.
which, I've seen a lot of parents unintentionally do to
Yeah.
their kids, and they
Yeah.
think it's quote unquote what's best for them. But
Yeah.
when they're teens, that is something for the teen to figure out on their own, unless it's hard drugs, in which case, yeah, try to steer
No.
them away from that.
Yeah.
But yeah, hey, even then, if you try to force them to not do it, they're probably going to do it. You
Yeah.
know?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, no,
Yeah.
no,
And
yeah. So
yeah,
that's a
and
whole other
that's
conversation, but that's it. Yeah.
But that's exactly, I love what you're saying because that's what happened. You looked and you saw all your friends were off going and getting a job. And so your first thought was, I have to get a job. And I tried to talk about, well, maybe you could do podcast. And you're like, well, yeah, yeah. And maybe it wasn't happening fast enough or whatever. And you went, no, I really need to get a job. So I'm like, okay, cool, go get a job. And you did. And that's when you went, this sucks. I don't want to do this. I'd much rather be home in my pajamas editing podcasts whenever I want, not when someone tells me to be here and I'm spilling milk all over the floor and it's disaster and it's,
Oh my God,
yeah.
that was horrible. I dropped a gallon of milk and it exploded like a week in. Oh my God. It was honestly one of the worst days of my life, I have to say. It was horrible, which says
And
something about how awesome of a life I've had so far.
and
But oh my
customers sitting there
God.
waiting.
You had to get like the powder stuff to make it congeal it so you could actually clean it. Otherwise, it's just milk on the ground. Uh, and the worst part about that was I had just went and got like 3 gallons, and the guy was like, "You can handle that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, don't worry." Not even 10 seconds later, had I dropped one of them. Yeah, I could not handle it. Spoiler alert. So yeah,
so
that was
yeah,
horrific.
I
It
would
did not happen podcast editing.
so think about that. If I would have tried to guilt you out of getting that job and made you try and get this business, you would not have had that experience and not come running back to go, yeah, I'm ready to do podcast editing.
Oh yeah, you have to make your own mistakes.
That's
You know
right.
what I mean? And yeah, it
That's
sucks. And yeah, the whole point of being a parent is like, oh yeah, you want to help your kids not make the mistakes you made. But if you didn't make the mistakes you made, you wouldn't be the person you are.
that's
So
right.
that's not how mistakes work. Mistakes are
No.
good,
That's right.
So like
Except the only difference is, I know, like you and I have talked to many people about the people we've interviewed, we've talked to them about this, is that my goal for you, my goal for my kids is to have them start higher than I did. And what I mean by
oh yeah,
higher, I mean in like the mindset, the skills, the attitude, the financial capability ladder, if you will, right? Climbing that ladder. And as long as you start higher than I did, and you don't have to start from the deficit or from the place that I did, then I feel like I'm a successful parent. I can't take all the mistakes, like you just said. I can't take them away. I can't stop you from experiencing them. And that, to be honest with you, is the hardest thing of all. To see you possibly get hurt, to see you feel bad, to see you feel guilty or stressed or any of those things is really difficult. But you know what? That's being human. I can't take that away. I can't stop that. And all I can do is hopefully help you develop skills to handle it faster and easier than I did. I can't take it away. So parents, power parents, that's what we're going to help you do. That we're going to have conversations about all of these things with people who are navigating the same things. And we have an invitation for you. We have an invitation to subscribe to this podcast and subscribe to our wait list, where we are going to ask some very pointed questions and offer some really incredible opportunities for people only on our wait list. So go to parententrepreneur.power.com and join the wait list, answer some very simple questions, and hang on tight, because this rocket ship is blasting off, and Evan and I are having a blast chatting with incredible entrepreneurs who are navigating this world just like the rest of us. And we hope to guide this. I don't have all the answers. I don't know exactly how your life is and how it's going to be and what's best for you and your kids. But I'll tell you, we've been navigating it for quite a while together, Evan and I and Riley and I. And we've figured quite a few things out that, like you just heard Evan and I talk about, why we didn't have any fights around this process is because both of us came with an attitude that he wasn't going to force me to give him money for doing nothing, and I wasn't going to force him to be a slave for my business for nothing. And it's worked out pretty darn well so far, right? What do you think?
I think so. All my friends are in law school or in their jobs, and I'm at home in my pajamas. So it worked out perfectly.
And making money at the same time. What a concept.
As much, if no more than they are.
I know.
It's not a competition.
No.
But also have fun at law school. That sounds horrible.
That's right. It sounds horrible to me too. Actually, I love debating, but I don't think I need to go to law school.
Yeah, that's like 1% of law school. The rest is reading. That's all they ever say. I have reading to do. I have 6 hours of reading I have to do.
Gosh. Yeah, no, that's okay.
And not fun reading either.
Yeah. I was going to say, because if your ideal life would be basically reading for 6 hours, but not reading. Law books.
But I don't know how much I need to know about Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. I don't know if that would help very much to pass the bar. The 3-day test. Oh God, I haven't had a test in years. That sounds horrible. Yeah, entrepreneurship is amazing. It's the moral of that story.
Yes, absolutely. So power parents, if you want to join us on this journey, just take a look at, find us on your favorite podcast player. We're going to be on all of them, obviously, and join us for this adventure, because we really would love your feedback. We would love to see and hear what you find most valuable in what we talk about and what you need to know more of. One of the things we're going to probably be opening up only to the people in our wait list are some special consulting hours and consulting you on how to structure your business in a way that fosters and models entrepreneurship in your kids. So we're going to be looking for some really amazing parents out there who want our help in doing that. And we might even ask you to be featured on this podcast as we take you through that process. So hang on. We are completely open for how this is going to go. We just want to have conversations with interesting people doing extraordinary things and helping their kids do the same. So I hope you decide to join us.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Parent Entrepreneur Power. Hopefully you came away with valuable tools you can use in your business, life, and relationship with your kids. If you want to hear more about our mission, or if you want more insights into cultivating your parent entrepreneur power, join our movement to make entrepreneurship more accessible to parents and their kids at parententrepreneur.power.com.